Welcome to The Explainer. We're here to take really complex topics, cut through all the noise, and give you the clear insights you need. And today, we're diving into what it actually costs to live in Malaysia. So here's the dream, right? You see the pictures, you imagine retiring, or maybe just relocating to a place like Malaysia, drawn in by this promise of a super high-quality life that's also somehow incredibly affordable. We're talking world-class food, incredible scenery, all on a surprisingly small budget. And this is the number that you'll see thrown around everywhere. It's a pretty powerful one. That's how much cheaper Malaysia is supposed to be, on average, compared to the US. But here's the thing. Is it really that simple? Can you just pack up, move, and magically expect to cut your living expenses in half? Well, the real story is a whole lot more interesting, and it really boils down to a few key things we're about to break down. Okay, the first and honestly the biggest factor that's going to shape your budget is your address. Because let me tell you, not all of Malaysia costs the same, not even close. Just look at the difference here. The capital, Kuala Lumpur, or KL, is the country's pulsing business hub. And yeah, it comes with the highest price tag. You're looking at something like 4,500 ringgit, which is over $1,000 a month just for the basics. But then you've got a place like Penang, which gives you this great balance of city and beach life for way less. And if you want things even quieter, a city like Ipoh is even more affordable. And that price difference, it buys you a completely different reality. It's not just about money, it's about the vibe. Are you after that high-energy urban convenience of KL with its massive skyscrapers and career focus? Or are you looking for the historic charm, the legendary food scene, and the island life you get in Penang? Your answer to that question fundamentally changes your budget before you even spend a single ringgit. But look, your location is only half the story. The next huge factor depends entirely on who you are. Specifically, where is your money coming from? Are you earning it abroad or from a local job? Because the difference here is stark. This is where you can really see the two worlds side by side. An American expat who's living on a, say, $2,200 a month pension is living a completely different life than a local professional in KL. That local might feel they need 8,000 ringgit for a comfortable life, but they're earning it from a Malaysian company, where the average salary is actually less than half of that. And this quote from a local on Reddit, it just grounds that whole idea in reality. For a lot of Malaysians, especially in a city like Kuala Lumpur, the daily grind is all about carefully balancing the budget. It's making those trade-offs, like cooking at home versus the high cost of eating out, just to make it all work. And all this brings us to what is probably the single most important factor of all, your personal lifestyle choices. This is where your budget can either totally shrink or just explode. The gap between just surviving and actually thriving, it all comes down to a whole bunch of daily decisions. It's not just about what you need to get by. It's about what you want for your quality of life. And that gap can be enormous. I mean, on one extreme end of the spectrum, surviving can look like this: a single, very, very cheap meal for the whole day. It's a pretty stark reminder that a low cost of living is a totally relative term. It all depends on your standard. And then, on the complete other end, you have what we could call the lifestyle inflators. These are the choices that can take a monthly budget from under $1,000 to well over 3,000. You know, do you love your Western-style cafes and imported cheese? Do you feel like you need to own a car instead of just using public transport? What about that fancy high-spec condo at the amazing view? Every single yes here dramatically changes your personal cost of living equation. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that there is no single magic number. You know that 52.3% figure from the beginning? It's really just an average. To find the truth, you've got to calculate your own number. So here's a really simple framework to figure out what your number would be. First, pick your city and the vibe you're going for. Second, be really honest about your profile. Are you bringing in foreign dollars or local ringgit? Third, define what comfortable actually means to you. Is dining out every night a non-negotiable? And then finally, once you have that, you can do some research on the big three: housing, food, and transport for your specific situation. So for a comfortable expat in KL, for instance, your budget might look something like this.
And notice how rent and food just dominate the expenses, right? That's what happens when you start prioritizing things like comfort, convenience, and dining out.
And one last thing, and this is super important. Don't forget about the big one-time costs. These aren't going to be in your monthly budget, but they can be huge. You've got to think about things like security deposits for your rent and just getting your place furnished and set up. But the really big ones are things like visa fees. The Malaysia My Second Home program, for example, has had deposit requirements of over $150,000. And of course, international school tuition if you're bringing kids.
So after going through all of this, you start to realize that the first question we asked, it might actually be the wrong one. It's not really about finding a single number.
The real takeaway here isn't a number at all. It's more like a design challenge. Malaysia offers this incredible spectrum of lifestyles, from these ultra-modern cities to quiet little beach towns, from a $5 street food meal to a 5-star dinner. So the only question that's really left is, what kind of life do you want to build for yourself? And what is that life truly worth to you?